All right, Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey. I wanted to make a video because I normally don't do these type of videos, but I think it's about time to make one of these videos. It's not going to be where I'm going to be making these videos all the time, but I do think that the time is now to put this video out. Now is the time to say something because the big news is out. Everybody's talking about that new country song by Jason Aldean. Try this in a small town or try that in a small town. And the picture that you see right there in the clip for the video is my small town here, my county, Searcy County here in Arkansas. That was a quorum court meeting, and everybody gathered together to hold the line to make a statement to try to push things forward here for our county because the political people here in Arkansas, which a lot of you vote, a lot of you say the Republicans are better, a lot of you say the Democrats are better, yada, yada, yada. I don't believe in any of that. For those of you that have been watching my channel for a long time know I'm 36, never registered to vote, never will vote. I think it's all corrupt. And there's a prime example. There was a bill passed here in Arkansas. Arkansas is a red state for everybody that says Republicans try to help everything. Well, they didn't have enough time on this bill that they passed to look into it, to research it, to do any type of authenticating of the bill. They just went ahead and passed the bill because there was a deadline. Well, the bill they passed is taking power away from the small counties, from the small judges, and it's allowing big crypto mining facilities coming into these small towns that have a loud decibel, runs at like 70 decibels, fans running, motors running, everything running 24/7, takes away all the peace and quiet, puts all this strain on the power grid, and they passed the bill. So our little community here, Searcy County, all got together, filled up the courthouse at the quorum court meeting, and our judge filed a sound ordinance to block it. So for any of you that watch TV, if you watch the TV show Yellowstone, um, amazing TV show. And just like the country song that just came out by Jason Aldean, in Yellowstone, you know, it goes to show we're almost at that point that we're going to have a Yellowstone moment. A lot of small towns like ours that got together to hold the line had our Yellowstone moment. Chris, this was an Arkansas bill. I don't know the bill off the top of my head. I actually just sent it to one of my subscribers here that we've been text messaging today because the news is now covering it that one of the so-called Republican leaders are now trying to appeal the law, even though they all passed the law. So it's here in Arkansas right now, and what it was it's taking the power away from the small judges, from the small counties, and doing a statewide allowance to allow everything to come into Arkansas. Now, it's Green Digital LLC is the big crypto firm that's trying to do it here in Arkansas. And another thing why I feel the Yellowstone moment is going to happen, not just for small towns, but the country's going to have its big Yellowstone moment. If not, then this country's not going to be a country anymore. But Green Digital is owned by China. They people around here did the research. They dove into it. It's a bunch of shell companies, and all the shell companies end up going right back to the China Communist Party or whatever their lingo is over there. But that's the problem we're having right now. Small towns, and I know this is a homesteading channel, so I don't do political videos, but we're at the point where preppers, homesteaders, gardeners, farmers, ranchers, we are at that point that if we don't hold the line, if we don't get ready to have our Yellowstone moments, like Kevin Costner on Yellowstone, one of the best videos he's ever done. One of the best movies, in my opinion, that he's ever done was Dances with Wolves. It showed, the slaughtering that they did and everything that went bad back then. And in the Yellowstone TV show, he showed small towns, if you let society come in, communities disappear. That's one of the great things about Searcy County, Arkansas here is not Searcy, Arkansas, Searcy County. Is there's generations, 8, 9, 10 generations that are still here. If you look at your surrounding areas, if you look at the town you're in, generations don't continue like that anymore. Why? Because our forefathers, great-grandparents, grandparents, parents never stood up. They let society come in. They say, hey, you need the newest school, you need the newest curriculum because this is going to make your children the smartest. This is going to give them the best chance out there in society. The problem is, how many of your kids know how to cook? How many of your kids know how to fix simple equipment? How many of your kids know how to grow food, can food, preserve food, the things that mean the most here on this planet? Not digital advertising or crypto mining or these different things. It's all going to society. So our Yellowstone moment is here. We need to start fighting back. We need to start standing up, and we need to start thinking of what's getting ready to happen to our communities. I went to the Quorum Court meeting, even though I'm not political, because I just wanted to see what it was about. I wanted to see, I've seen all the stuff on Facebook with this county talking about they stand up for this, they stand up for that, but I wanted to see if they were of their word. Well, sure enough, they had over 100 people at the Quorum Court meeting. All the seats were taken. Chairs were brought down the aisle. They were all taken. The waiting room outside was all standing. Luckily, I got there early, or I would have never got in. I would have been in the waiting room outside, just standing, trying to listen. But, that many people from this county went together. They stood together, and our county judge stood with the people and passed the noise ordinance. On top of that, I'm not one that's real big on laws, bills, and things like that, because in my opinion, laws and bills only affect law-abiding citizens. In the emergency order that our judge passed, it's like $100 a day fine for breaking the noise ordinance. A lot of people from the community stepped up and said $100 wasn't enough because they make a whole lot more than that a day crypto mining. So they could easily pay that and just do it anyhow. But like our judge and everybody said, laws have limits on what you can charge. Laws also, like I said, are only for law-abiding citizens. Another good thing with our Quorum Court and our county was people on the board, or the judges, whatever they are. I don't know, because like I said, I'm not in the political theme, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a part of any of that. But they stood up and said that they want it recorded on the minutes that even though they're going to pass this noise ordinance, they wanted to state that if local community or small business wanted to do something that's not going to be a massive sound thing, if somebody wanted to run Bitcoin mining on their computer here in the county at their house, they're not going to interfere with that. They want to be able to give the citizens in our community the chance to make money if we need to make money. So that's another thing you need to look at in the communities you're looking at moving to, or societies that you're looking to, states you're looking to. I'm going to make a video later on about where the best place is to homestead. It may not just be here in Arkansas, but what you need to look for. And these are things you need to look at. What is your county going to do? What is your city going to do? What is your state going to do? What are the community people going to do? Are they going to stand together, band together, like in the TV show Yellowstone? Or are they not going to band together and just let things come in? We see plenty of states, plenty of cities, plenty of towns that are letting this stuff happen. And just like I said, this new song by Jason Aldean, try that in a small town, which I named that as the head of this video because it needs to stand out. People need to realize that in these small towns, guess what? We don't have rioting here. We don't have all these burglaries here. We don't have the break-ins here. We don't have the graffiti, the defacing, and all that type of stuff here. Go to different small towns. It's not happening there. They stop that stuff. They don't mess around with it. I got woken up the other day by my sheriff and one of the deputies out here in front of my building. There was some guy walking down the road, and he was walking down the main part of the highway in the middle of the road, Highway 65, and somebody called 911 saying this guy's trying to get hit on the highway. I don't know if he came onto my porch or whatever, but the dogs started barking. By the time I was able to get up, I let them out the door. The dogs went. They were ferociously barking at the front. By the time I got dressed and got out the front door, the deputy already had the guy talking to him. Then the sheriff pulled up. They put him in cuffs, talked to him and everything. And then apparently he went into the back part of somebody else's business here and was sleeping in their area. And it was just some type of druggie. He was tweaking out, hollering, screaming to the sky, brushing his teeth all crazy and stuff. But our law enforcement here in Searcy County is another big part of why I like this county. The sheriff ran his information after they handcuffed him, patted him down, of course, for security. Being ex-cop, I know all the drills on that. Ran his information. He had no warrants or wants on his record. He did have stuff in his past record, but there was nothing pending or anything like that. And our sheriff is like, we don't want this in our county. Offered the guy a ride to the county line, took him through the county, and dropped him off because he was going down to, I think, Louisiana or Alabama, something like that. So our sheriff doesn't want this in the county. Let him hop in the car with him. Took him to the county line. This is what we need in our towns. This is what we need in our communities. Sheriffs, judges, postal service, jobs, small businesses, community, the people. We need everybody to look out after each other. I'm not one for big society. I'm not a social person. But I'm starting to get this feeling that if you're not social like me, we're going to have to start turning social. We're going to have to start talking to our neighbors. We need to start making the community stronger. We need to know that if something happens 2 blocks down, everybody in a 4-block radius is going to be there to help. If somebody's house catches on fire, to stop filming it and getting likes on Facebook, TikTok, and social media, and let's grab buckets and start helping our neighbors put the fire out. If we see a neighbor that's old and elderly that can't get to the store and we haven't seen their car move from their driveway for 3 days, which most of us aren't even paying attention to that car in the driveway anymore. We need to start paying attention to that. And then once we see that vehicle hasn't moved, and 3 days go by, we need to go and knock on the door and say, hey, I just wanted to check on you. I wanted to make sure as a community that you're doing okay. Do you need help? Get out there to the store if they're sick. Get them some groceries. Do what you need to do to help your community. If we don't get back to our roots, and if we don't get back to taking back our small towns, taking back our communities, and pushing society out and let society be in the cities, let all the crime be in the cities, let the public defecation on hoods of vehicles and sidewalks and all that in the cities, let all that go. Let them deal with that in the city. That's why we're out here in the country. That's why we move out of the city, just like me. I moved out here, Arkansas, just like I was in Cotopaxi, Colorado, out miles and miles from town, away from main roads. I moved here temporarily. I'm right here on the highway. I can't do anything about that right now, so I have to deal with it. But I'm getting back into the woods. But we have to remember, no matter how far we get out, things and society will creep in if we don't keep it out. So even though I'm going to be moving out onto the homestead, I'm going to try to start being um, more, more hands-on in the community, more verbal in the community. I'm going to try to, you know, acknowledge talking to people more, try to look out for people more. I mean, I already stop and help when I see people with flat tires. I help them change out their tire, or if I see somebody walking, which my grandparents and a lot of people always tell me stop picking up hitchhikers, but I just do it. And that's the problem. We've got into, I've said this a million times as well, we've gotten into this crab mentality where somebody starts doing good, and just like crabs in a bucket, we grab them and we pull them right back down. Where we need to be in the ant mentality, where you see like on a leaf, there's a water drop. And it goes 2 ants, 2 ants, 2 ants, 2 ants. And the reason they do that is to keep that drop of water on the leaf so everybody can get a drink before that drop rolls off the leaf. If they all got to one side, the water would fall right off the leaf. Ants work together. They build each other up. They help each other out. If they see another ant struggling carrying a dead grasshopper, what happens? A whole bunch of them come and they start pulling that grasshopper together. We need to get out that crab mentality, get in the ant mentality, and build our communities back. So I just wanted to make this quick video and say, if you haven't thought about this, think about it. If you're not doing it, you might want to do it. And 3, you just might want to get out the cities. You might want to become part of a community and go back in time, not into the future of society where people are on smartphones all day. People work 3 to 4 jobs. You waste your whole life on a job for somebody else, losing 30-40% of your value to taxes and everything else. I've talked about how when you're a homesteader, when you're a farmer, when you're a rancher, you work an hour on your land. You get the benefit, you get the pay of that entire hour. That's why our forefathers homesteaded, and they were successful in leaving farms and ranches and properties to farther down the line generations, because it was paid for, it was worked on. All the value went into that ownership. Now you go to a 9-to-5 job. Say you get $10 an hour. I know everybody's making more now, but just say $10 an hour. $4 an hour goes to taxes. $2 an hour goes to gas, vehicle maintenance, and everything else to get you back and forth to work. So you're left with a whopping $4 an hour for working for somebody else. They're getting that benefit, not you. Then you take the rest of that $4 and you pay bills on your homestead, your house, your building you're living in. If you spent that whole hour gardening on your own land, that whole hour benefits you. Think about 40 hours a week on your own property, what you could be accomplishing. If you cut firewood on your own land, sell firewood on your own land, you're making money. And that's all the blood, sweat, and tears from your labor. You're not giving any of that labor to a business, to a corporation that takes the product you make and they make more money off of the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in for them. So these are the things you need to be thinking about. I did see somebody popped up. Norman, just like that show, The Walking Dead, or whatever it was called. Right, Norman. And that's another thing, too. There's plenty of TV shows to show you out there that if you don't band together, if you don't become part of a community, Walking Dead's not the best in a way to show that because, it's dramatized and all that. But the communities they created, the farms and stuff like that, that's what our communities need to do now. One of the big things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing massive vegetable gardens. I want to do orchards. I want to do flower gardens. I want to do honeybees. Uh, and that's one of the things for the doomsday prepper mindset. A lot of you don't quite understand the doomsday mindset, but a lot of them prep all this food and they prep all these armaments and bug out locations and all this stuff because they don't want to not have stuff when things go bad, which there's nothing wrong with that. But what we need to be doing is, instead of doomsday prepping for ourselves and just for our family, we should be doing that for the community. But what we need to be doing is work as a community and get everybody to garden. If all your neighbors have a garden and a food crisis hits, or food shortages, like I think still is going to hit sometime around November this year, like I've said for the past year and a half, well, guess what? You don't have neighbors that have to come fight you or do anything to try to get your food because they have food. As a community, if we all have chickens, we all have eggs, we all have chicken meat. You know, as a community, if we all have honeybees and flower gardens, we all have honey. These are the things we should be thinking about as our Yellowstone moment. You know, a lot of people, they want the collapse of society. And I think that's the stupidest thing in the world to want that. I understand it would get rid of all the laws and all the police state, the military state, and all that type of stuff. But let me ask you this. How many of you right now can go out and grow enough food to survive an entire year off of your land, if you even have land? How many of you know self-defense to stop all those people in the cities that are going to be coming for what you have? How many people have a community strong enough to keep people out of it to survive that long enough? I don't want that. To be able to go to the city, you know, Harrison, which is only 1,200 people, or 12,000 people, to go to a grocery store to grab what I need, I'd rather have that. I don't have to live in the city. I don't have to deal with all that. But you got to think, if you want the collapse to happen, if you want society to unrest to happen, I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. I think right now, yes, the world is bad as it is, but I'd rather have the luxuries of being able to go to the store and buy stuff than trying to make a bone saw or a bone chisel or things like that to be able to do workings on logs to build things, when I can go to Home Depot and buy a diamond plated blade and a sheet of plywood and be able to make easy work of what I want done. Our Yellowstone moment is not fighting back. Our Yellowstone moment is binding together as a community and setting things up. Talk to your neighbors. Try to get everybody to do some gardening. Try to get everybody to try to get at least some chickens. Try to get everybody to plant some flowers. You know, instead of watering a green yard every year, which I understand in the city, you can't do this type of stuff because you have homeowner associations, you have regulations, you have township laws, city laws, and all these things that don't allow this. But like out here, you know, I see different people with green grass yards. They're out there mowing it every day. Or not every day, but every 2 to 3 days out here when we have these rainstorms. Why not talk to your neighbor and say, hey, you know, can I help you out and build this flower garden bed and do some flowers to help the bees and the pollinators in this area so we can produce more food? Talk to your neighbor if it's an elderly person that can't do a lot of work. If you're in an apartment, or if you're on a tiny piece of land that you really can't garden, and you've got a neighbor with an acre or 5 acres and they're elderly, they can't do the work. Why don't you talk to them and say, hey, can I do like a land lease? Can I work a garden on your property? And in exchange, you get 50% of the produce that I grow. It's not costing you anything for the land. It's just blood, sweat, and tears to produce the produce. But guess what? If you're in your apartment down the street, you can't do it anyhow. So why not try to work with your neighbors? Build that community. That elderly person might be able to help you with something else in the future. This is the community. This is what the TV show Yellowstone was all about. How everybody stood together, the sheriffs, the family, the different neighbors, the different political people. They all stood together to keep the society out. Why? Because people wanted to come in, build airports, build vacation destinations and stuff like that, ski lodges, and destroy the land. That's the number one problem we're having in the world today. Is our mentality is the newest technology is the best. The new curriculums in the school is the best. It's not. Like I've said, our kids are no smarter today than the kids way back when. The kids way back when were a lot smarter. And you look at what they're teaching. You know, they're saying we're getting to older age than ever before. Well, guess what? My great-grandparents lived into their 80s and 90s. My grandparents have died in their 70s and 60s. You know, look at all the kids that are dying from cancer and from all these different things. For me, it don't look like we're any healthier. Go online. You know, go out to Walmart. Does society look healthier than ever before? Do we look fitter than ever before? Do we look more intelligent than ever before? We're not. Why? Because we let society come in. Like my great-grandfather always said, change is 90% bad, 10% good. We need to get rid of the change we've changed to and get rid of that society and go back to where we came from. Go back to community. Go back to the old ways. We need to go back to loving each other, being a part of each other, being a part of a network together, not avoiding our neighbors, not talking to nobody. Come to Arkansas, at least the north central part where I am, and you can be at a gas pump and people just randomly start talking to you. I've talked about that in my videos when I first moved out here, how difficult it was to go back to being able just to talk to somebody in line at grocery store, at a gas pump, in line to wait for food. 90% of the places don't do that anymore. We're not connected anymore. That's how we're becoming divided. That's why a lot of people that are talking back, like Jason Aldean with his song, is getting ridiculed because people are offended. People are afraid of change because there's some people trying to bring community back. And when they see that society is getting whipped away and that change going back to the old ways and their luxuries and everything are disappearing, and they have to talk to somebody, they have to face somebody, it's a whole new way of thinking. And when that happens, they get offended and they cry out racism or hatred or all the other things that they're calling out. We need to band together. We need to be a community. If you don't have your Yellowstone moment yet, it may be coming. If you missed your Yellowstone moment, you better start banding together. You best start getting your community together, your neighbors together. All it starts with is one neighbor. Talk to one neighbor, then to two, then to three, then your street, then the next street, then your whole neighborhood. then the surrounding neighborhoods, then that community, then the county, like Searcy County, Arkansas. Band together, get in the works. If we can do that, then we can go from county to county, to state, to country, to the whole world. We need to stop thinking in terms of I'm better than you, you're better than this guy, so on and so forth. We need to band together. We need to go back to creating what this world was created for in the beginning. It was a planet created for free. It shouldn't cost us to be on this planet. The only reason it's costing us to live on this planet is because of greedy, wealthy, rich elite that want to put division between us. If we all band together, if we all grew gardens on our own properties, if we all had our own chickens, if we all helped raise barns like the Amish, if we helped our neighbors in times of need, then we all would be doing better. We all would be able to live without money. We all would be able to live by using barter. And just like in the very, very old days, the people that didn't want to do anything, they weren't part of the community. They didn't have nothing. They didn't add nothing. They didn't gain nothing. And just like all the stickers you see on ladders and electric poles that say don't put your tongue in a socket, where they didn't have that back in the day, was because if you didn't become part of that community, then you became part of Darwin and you disappeared, and that was that. But if you're part of that community, you can thrive. We need to love. Be a part of community. Have a great day. And with that, remember, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. Take care.